So, how does an empire last for over 2,000 years? Well, the story of imperial China isn't one straight, unbroken line. It's actually something way more interesting, a repeating cycle of rise, glory, decay, and then rebirth. And this cycle didn't just shape a nation, it literally shaped the world. Understanding it is the key to understanding China today.
Here's how we're going to tackle this incredible history. We'll start with the one idea that drove everything, the mandate of heaven. Then we'll see how the very first empires were forged, explore their brilliant golden ages, watch as invaders shake things up, and finally get to the last dynasty and the moment the whole system broke for good.
Okay, so if you're gonna understand imperial China, you have to start with this one single, revolutionary idea. It's the engine that powers the entire dynastic cycle we're talking about.
And that idea is the mandate of heaven. And it's honestly brilliant. On the one hand, it says the heavens themselves bless a just ruler, giving them total authority. But, and this is the absolute kicker, that blessing isn't forever. Famines, floods, corruption, all of those were seen as signs that the ruler had lost the mandate. It gave people a divine permission slip, not just to obey, but to rebel.
And this one idea created a pattern, a story that would play out again and again, the dynastic cycle. It kicks off with a powerful new leader uniting the country, claiming they have the mandate of heaven. That usually leads to a golden age of peace and prosperity. But over time, things slip. Corruption creeps in, disasters strike, and people start whispering that the mandate is lost. Rebellion breaks out, and from all that chaos, a new dynasty rises to claim the mandate, and the whole cycle starts over.
So, that's the theory. Now let's see it in action. We're going to start at the very beginning, with the dynasties that took a bunch of warring states and hammered them into a single, unified empire.
Unification came with a very heavy hand. The first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, was this totally ruthless visionary. And to get a sense of his raw power, just look at this number, 700,000. That's how many people they think were forced to build his tomb, along with that incredible terracotta army. He created a unified state, for sure, standardizing everything, but his rule was absolutely brutal. And this timeline right here shows you a really crucial contrast. For all its might, the Qin dynasty just burned itself out in about 15 years. It was just too harsh, and it lost the mandate almost immediately. The Han dynasty that came next learned from that. They kept the unified empire, but they ruled with a much lighter touch. They set up the bureaucracy and the Confucian ideals that would become the bedrock of Chinese civilization for the next 2,000 years.
Now, just as the theory predicted, even the great Han dynasty eventually fell apart, and China broke into pieces again. But the cycle turned once more, giving rise to new dynasties that would bring about some of the most brilliant golden ages in all of world history.
The Tang dynasty, in particular, is remembered as a true high point. This was a time of just immense confidence and openness. The Silk Road was booming, bringing in new ideas, new religions, new everything into China. Its capital was the biggest city on the planet. It was a truly cosmopolitan empire, just overflowing with incredible poetry, art, and innovation.
And the innovation happening during this period, it was literally world-changing. The Tang and the Song dynasty that came after it gave us inventions that would completely reshape human history. I mean, think about it. Gunpowder, the magnetic compass, movable type printing, hundreds of years before Gutenberg in Europe, and even the world's first paper money. It was an absolute explosion of genius.
But the cycle always turns. Even a golden age like that couldn't last forever. The Song dynasty got weaker, and a new, almost unstoppable threat was gathering on the northern steppes. For the very first time in its history, all of China was about to fall to foreign invaders.
And we're not talking about just any invaders. We're talking about the Mongols. Under Genghis Khan and his descendants, they swept across Asia and created the largest single land empire the world has ever seen. It was his grandson, Kublai Khan, who would finally complete the conquest of China and declare a new dynasty.
So here we see the dynastic cycle take a really dramatic twist, foreign rule followed by a native restoration. The Mongol-led Yuan dynasty plugged China into this huge global empire. That caused some friction, but also led to incredible trade. This is when Marco Polo showed up. But in less than a century, rebellion kicked them out. They were replaced by the Ming dynasty, a restoration of Han Chinese rule that basically did the opposite. They looked inward, built the Forbidden City, and massively rebuilt the Great Wall, determined to keep those northern invaders out for good.
And that brings us to the final turn of the wheel. We're about to see how this 2,000-year-old pattern finally came to a grinding halt with China's last great imperial dynasty.
It's kind of ironic, isn't it?
The dynasty that took over from the inward-looking Ming also came from an invasion. The Manchus, from the northeast, they broke through the Great Wall, took over a collapsing Ming, and established the Qing dynasty. And they'd rule for almost 300 years, expanding the empire to its largest size ever. For a long, long time, it really seemed like the cycle was holding strong.
But this time, something was different. The world outside of China had fundamentally changed. This timeline shows you this accelerating series of crises that the old system just could not handle. It wasn't just corruption inside, it was the aggressive industrial power of the West which led to humiliating defeats in the Opium Wars. It was the Taiping Rebellion, one of the deadliest civil wars in human history. The dynasty was getting hammered from the outside and being torn apart from the inside. The mandate of heaven was slipping away for the very last time.
In 1912, the last emperor abdicated. And this wasn't just the end of another dynasty, it was the end of the entire imperial system. The cycle that had defined China for more than 2 millennia, the very engine of its history, had finally shattered.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating question for today. The ancient cycle of emperors and mandates, that's all over. But how does that deep history, that emphasis on unity, the memory of those golden ages, and the fear of